What if you've been playing the same game your whole life, only to realize the rules have suddenly changed? What if that one moment you'll never forget turns out to be the one that shatters everything? Don't turn it off. You won't want to miss what happens next. The morning was like any other, peaceful, but somehow hollow. I was the first to wake up as usual. Everything was in its place: a cup of coffee on the table, newspapers I never read, and Jennifer lying next to me. Her gaze was fixed on the ceiling, but she didn't see me. She never looked at me. I remembered how it was in the beginning. We were in love, full of passion and plans. But time had taken its toll. We had become like two roommates sharing a house, but not a life. I stared at her, trying to figure out what went wrong. I thought all these years meant something real. But now, I could feel the cold seeping through every word she said. "Ethan, we need something new," she said, her voice flat, almost mechanical. It wasn't a request, it was a statement. I didn't know how to respond. "What do you mean?" I asked, hoping she'd explain, but there was something in her eyes I couldn't understand. I don't know, just something. And she went back to her morning routine as if nothing had happened. My heart sank. I was content with our stability. But her, she was searching for something I couldn't grasp. It was intangible, elusive, something that threatened to tear apart everything we had built. We sat through breakfast in silence. I was trying to understand her, but I couldn't. She was there, but so far away. I clung to what we had, desperate to hold on to the last piece of solid ground before it vanished beneath me. But deep down, I knew we were drifting apart. And soon, everyone else would know it too. "Do you really not want to change anything?" she asked. "I don't want to change what's already working," I replied firmly. But I could see the disappointment in her eyes. At that moment, I knew something had cracked. It was like a fracture in an old wall that couldn't be patched up anymore. Amanda's barbecue wasn't just a casual get-together filled with drinks and jokes. It was a setup. I could feel it from the moment we arrived. Jennifer wasn't herself. She seemed distracted, lost in conversations, as if looking for an excuse to find something new, something dangerous. There was a tension in the air, subtle but electric, like the charge before a storm. Amanda, ever the center of attention, suggested a game of truth or dare. At first, it seemed harmless. Logan started small, teasing Kathy with a simple question about her summer plans. Laughter, light-hearted jokes, but then I noticed Jennifer watching Kathy with a strange intensity. Not just a glance, a deep, probing look. Something in her was shifting. The mood changed when Amanda, as if on cue, raised the stakes. "Come on, guys, let's play for real. Who's brave enough to dive into their wildest fantasies?" That's when everything went black for me. Jennifer didn't react outwardly, but I saw the flicker in her eyes. She wasn't just considering it, she was imagining it. Time slowed as a voice in my head screamed for the madness to stop, but I couldn't stop what happened next. Ryan, with his smug grin, pushed further. "How about we all get brutally honest? Let's air out our deepest, darkest desires." My palms began to sweat. My instinct was to shut it all down, but I stayed silent. My body tensed as Jennifer, almost in slow motion, said, "Why not? I'm game." I didn't know how to respond. My world crumbled right before my eyes. This wasn't just a game. It was a challenge, a proposal that would change everything. After that evening, I couldn't breathe. Everything around me felt like it was falling apart. I wandered aimlessly, trying to make sense of what had just happened. With every step, the nightmare became more real. When I got home, Jennifer was there, acting like nothing had changed. But the void between us was undeniable. I could feel it. "Do you even realize what you just suggested?" I couldn't contain my anger. "I don't know. I just needed something different," she said calmly, but I could hear the pain underneath. She was lost too. "You want to destroy everything we've built?" I asked, desperate to understand. I had clung to the stability of our life together, while she was ready to tear it apart for something undefined. Silence hung between us like a wall. She was willing to embrace it, and I wasn't. I couldn't understand how she had changed so much. But one thing was clear: there were no more illusions. Day after day, I tried to figure out what to do. We kept talking, but every time we began to open up, anger flared inside me, uncontrollable and consuming. It was a vicious cycle. How much longer could I endure this? The worst part was knowing Jennifer was suffering too. We were both trying to hold on, but the cracks inside us were too deep. One night, amidst the silence and tension, she came to me. "I don't know what I want, Ethan, but I know if we don't change, we'll lose each other." Her voice trembled. She looked at me with a mix of fear and hope, as if searching for something she couldn't name. "Then let's fix this. Let's try something new," I said, my heart heavy. I didn't know if I meant it, but I had to try. For both of us, after what happened at the barbecue, everything changed. Jennifer was like a different person. She started setting up these perfect days for me, like she was trying to make up for everything she hadn't said or done before. I got unexpected gifts. Her attention was all on me. Candlelit dinners, sweet words, it all seemed like an attempt to go back to when things were easier. But I could feel that something wasn't right. All these efforts felt like they were leading up to something bigger. She was there, but I didn't really feel her. She was trying to be the perfect wife, but it felt like a parade with no real substance. I felt the weight of her hidden desires, disguised as attempts to make everything seem perfect. "You notice how much time we've been spending together?" she asked one night. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, like she was trying to see how I'd take her changes. "You've changed, Jennifer. It's like you're hiding something." I couldn't help but notice. Everything felt like part of some plan I couldn't understand. I didn't know what she wanted from me. Or maybe I didn't know what she wanted from herself anymore. It was like she was looking for a way out, but couldn't even admit it to herself. And then one evening, when everything seemed harmless, she made her move. We were sitting at the table, and her gaze was intense, but somehow cold. "Ethan, I want you to try being my cuckold for a week. This might save our marriage if you really love me." Those words hit me like a knife. I couldn't believe my ears. It felt like I was hearing a nightmare, but it was real. What was she saying? Why was she doing this? The tears I was holding back were about to break through, but I couldn't show my weakness. "Are you out of your mind?" I snapped. My anger was uncontrollable, like a storm tearing everything apart. "No, I'm not out of my mind. You say you love me. Isn't it worth trying something new for love?" Her voice was relentless, as if she was waiting for me to give in. My brain was working on autopilot, but it couldn't keep up with my emotions. Everything inside me tightened with pain and despair. This was a betrayal of the very core of our relationship. I got up and, without saying a word, I ran out of the house. I needed to get away before I did something I'd regret. I ended up in a bar, where I could hide from the nightmare. The bar was always simple: beer, noise, friends talking. But this time, even that didn't help. I needed to figure out what was going on, and someone had to help me see it clearly. "Are you serious? Do you even know what she just asked you?" Ryan asked when he saw my face. He wasn't expecting any profound answer. He knew this world. "I don't know what to do. It's too strange. You saw her. I can't accept this." "Yeah, strange, but she's testing you, Ethan. She doesn't know what she wants, but she's searching. To her, you're an experiment." His words hit the mark. I could tell he wasn't too concerned about me. He talked about it like it was no big deal, but I understood he was in the same mess. But the worst part came when Ryan confessed that he was using Katie to get her to cheat. He was planning to divorce her, With the support of her cheating, he betrayed her, hiding behind this game approach. I could feel bitterness rising in my chest. It all felt like one big lie, and I was a part of it. I couldn't believe I had trusted these people. Are you really planning to divorce her? I couldn't contain my shock. Yeah, if she's not willing to be honest, why not use her game? It's her choice. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I went home with a heavy heart, like I was carrying a massive weight. But I had no idea what was waiting for me. When Katie showed up, I knew it was a mistake. Ryan had kicked her out, and now she was in our house. Jennifer asked me to let her stay for a few days. I didn't know how to say no, but inside, fear was growing. I felt like this was going to lead to disaster. Ethan, you can't kick her out. She's not to blame for what happened. Jennifer was firm, but I knew that her support of Katie meant one thing: things were going to get worse. And then, when Jennifer went out shopping, Katie made her move. She came up to me, her eyes sparkling, her laughter like a wave that crashes over you. You know, I can't just stand by. You're too attractive. She winked at me, and her words sounded like she was ready to offer me anything. I felt my knees go weak, but I held my ground. I said, "No, Katie, this is too risky. We can't do this." She smiled, but there was something in her eyes that told me it wasn't over. Katie wasn't going to give up. Neither was I. I couldn't believe it. Jennifer came to me one night, her face pale, her eyes wide. She had done something behind my back, and now she was telling me everything. "Ethan, I need you to understand. I wanted to test you. I thought I could control this, but I can't. I'm sorry." Her apology wasn't enough to fix things. The damage was done, and I was left standing, unsure of where to go next. When I came home after everything had fallen apart, I could feel the tension in the air. It was that silence, the kind that always hurt more than words. Jennifer was sitting on the couch, and I didn't know what to say. I could see it in her eyes. There was pain, regret, but also something else: fear. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I've been crazy." Her voice was soft, but you could hear the weight of her confession. "I thought I could fix something, maybe recapture youth, maybe passion, I don't know." I was scared. Scared that as we got older, we'd just fade away, that we'd turn into something empty. My hands balled into fists. She was telling me that she was terrified our life together would become dull and lifeless. I knew she was looking for an answer, but how could I explain to her that her attempt to break us had shattered everything we had? It wasn't just about refreshing our relationship. It was about her fears, her loneliness in our time together. But still, her words hit me like an icy needle in the heart. I sat across from her, my eyes burning with pain I didn't know how to express. "You're not alone in this, Jennifer." I finally said, trying to stay calm, but my voice shook. I was scared, too, that we were losing ourselves. But not like this. We can't be like this for each other. My words carried all the weight and hurt of those weeks of silence. But I didn't just want to yell. I wanted to understand her despite everything. We were both broken, but I wanted to believe we could heal. The moment we decided to go to therapy, I knew it wouldn't be easy. We were broken, but we'd made the choice to face it head-on. That day, sitting on the couch in the therapist's office, I felt like even the walls knew we weren't the same people we once were. All those months of painful silence and unspoken words had left a void, and now we had to fill it. The therapist sat across from us, calm and serene, almost like she knew we had a chance. She asked one simple question: "What are your fears when you look at each other?" Jennifer went quiet, her lips trembling. She didn't know how to say it. "I'm scared, Ethan, that you don't see me anymore," she said, her voice so full of pain that I could barely hold it together. "I'm scared that to you, I'm not important anymore, that you don't see me as a woman, just as the mother of your kids." I could feel her words stabbing at me, but there was some truth in them. I'd been so caught up in everything else that I'd stopped seeing her feelings. It wasn't just about her body or looks, it was about her inner world that I had stopped noticing. When it was my turn to speak, I realized just how long I'd been silent about my feelings. I'm scared I'll lose you, Jennifer. I said, clenching my fist to keep the tears at bay. I didn't know how to help you. I didn't know how to make you want me again. I thought it was all just my mistakes, but we both got lost. In that moment, when I admitted my fear, I felt everything coming out. The walls we had built started to crumble. I wasn't just a husband. I was a man who was scared too. After that day, therapy didn't give us a solution, it gave us a revelation. We started to understand each other. Finally, we didn't just talk, we started listening, and more importantly, we started hearing each other. Jennifer and I began to figure ourselves out and how we could rebuild the trust we had lost. We started spending more time together, not just as husband and wife, but as two people rediscovering each other. Small steps became big ones. Instead of talking about our age difference or status, we started enjoying the little joys we still had. Dinner together, long walks, books we started reading together. We started hiking, something I had always thought was boring. But this time, I saw something different in her eyes, not just a woman, but a person I wanted to be with again. We laughed, argued, shared joy and struggles, and I could feel our hearts starting to beat together again. When I looked at her, I didn't just see my wife, but the woman I had always loved. We could become who we once were if we weren't afraid. Our story didn't end with an easy fix. We went through hell and back to realize that our relationship didn't need a reboot, it needed a rework. No radical change could replace the real work, the work we started doing for each other. In the end, we understood that our values and feelings had changed, but something important stayed, the desire to be together despite everything. We started building a new future, slowly but surely, step by step, and that was enough. Now, when I look at Jennifer, I don't just see the woman who once proposed the impossible, but a partner who's ready to move forward. We may not be perfect, but we're learning, and for me, that's what matters. What's next might just blow your mind. Hit play now to unlock more stories you won't be able to look away from.